Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me thank you very much for being with us. I just wanted to make a few brief opening remarks. I'll be glad to take any questions. I'm here today supporting my friends and hardworking Georgians at Home Depot and any other Georgia company that's being boycotted by people that are not telling the truth about Senate Bill 202, our Elections Integrity Act. They did not ask to be in this political fight. It's unfair to them and their families and their livelihoods to be targeted. This is a great company that not only has great products and great facilities in our state, it counts for 30,000 jobs, 90 facilities, and 15 distribution centers that make great products, and they have great people working there. They've also been some of our greatest philanthropists in the state to many causes over the years. And for them to be targeted by this organization and these people is quite honestly hard to comprehend. Georgia's the #1 state for business, and we have been for 8 years in a row because we have a good business environment, we got hardworking people, we got great logistics and workforce that this state has invested in for a very long time. And whether you're here in Georgia or around the country, you need to understand what this is about. This is not about Georgia's election law. This is about a movement at the national level to nationalize elections and to have an unconstitutional takeover of state elections that were set up in the Constitution that way. And the people that are targeting them, including Stacey Abrams, cannot have it both ways, because we know the political pressure has been out there, and you're seeing the results of that right now, with hardworking Georgians, through no fault of their own, being targeted because Major League Baseball decided to move the All-Star game because of pressure from these groups. And now you're seeing the calls for boycotting of Home Depot, a great Georgia-based company. And if you look back, you will know and see where I told people this was going to happen. I warned people in other states that it's going to happen to you next, your business next, your way of life next. We have to stand up and continue to fight this, to tell people the truth about Senate Bill 202. It makes it easy to vote and hard to cheat in Georgia. And I'll put that record up against anybody in the country, even where the state where Major League Baseball is headquartered in New York, that has a week less early voting than we do. President Biden's home state of Delaware, that has more restrictive early voting opportunities or none at all until the new bill's implemented than we do. This insanity needs to stop. The people that are pushing this, that are profiting off of it, like Stacey Abrams and others, are now trying to have it both ways. And you and the media are letting them do that, saying that they don't want boycotts. Do you really believe that with the pressure that they had before Major League Baseball moved the All-Star game? Do you really believe that after I signed the bill, companies changed their take from what they saw and met with us with during the General Assembly about this piece of legislation? It's time that this ends, and it's time for hardworking Georgians to know that instead of boycotting people and great companies like Home Depot, we should be supporting them. And I know that's what I'm going to do. Well, I know there's been a lot of people obviously targeting boycott, certainly from the groups that are here in Georgia and doing what they're doing to Home Depot. I have not called on any boycotts. I think that's for the consumer to decide. In many ways, that just hurts hardworking Georgians that work for these great companies when they have their leaders making these decisions. In some ways, I think that's a little bit unfair for us not to support the Georgia worker. That's certainly what I want to do. Am I frustrated? Yes, I am. I am frustrated with some of these companies that have been outspoken and really have not identified one single problem with the bill other than to make a broad-based statement. But I'm also frustrated that when you have a great company like Home Depot that comes out with a statement that says they support accessible, secure elections, that's not good enough in today's world. And that is exactly what I warned against. Nothing is ever good enough. If they get one thing, they're going to come for something else. And that's what should scare all Georgians and all Americans, quite honestly, if we let this continue. Well, make no mistake, the bishop is a partisan. You know, I'm sure he's a believer like I am. I mean, he was party to a lawsuit on behalf of Stacey Abrams, supported her in the campaign, which he certainly has the right to do. But to act like this is some broader mission for the greater good it's not true. It's not factual. I mean, there is a political agenda here, and it all leads to Washington, D.C. You know, they're using what happened in Georgia to pressure companies, and the way they can get through this and to stop this is to support H.R. 1 or S.R. 1, which in my opinion is an unconstitutional mandate. And that's not right. And people need to know that this person that's leading these groups, just like all these different organizations that are out there that are profiting off of this, they have a political motive. And I've looked in these cameras. I've done over 70 interviews. I've answered every single question, and I've been truthful to people. And I've told them, somebody is lying to you about SB 202, and it is not me. Well, look, Georgia's been through tough times before, but I can tell you from my perspective, I've been a CEO of my own business for over 35 years. Our economy's built on the backs of small business owners, and they are furious about this. And these people are Home Depot's customers, they're UPS's customers, they're Delta's customers, they're Coca-Cola's customers. So I would encourage people to really think about the broader picture here. If anything, for our business environment, as I said earlier, Georgia's the #1 state in the country for business. We have a great business environment here, and that is going to continue. We have a great workforce here. But you're also going to have a government that's going to stand up and fight for you and stick for you if you are a Georgia-based company, just like we did for SK Innovation on the battery plant deal that was just resolved. And just like we're doing right now, and it's not just about Home Depot. It would be, if it was another company that was getting boycotted, I'd be doing the same thing. This is about what's right and wrong. I mean, the state of Kentucky just passed an elections bill that was just raved about in the national media because it had bipartisan support. They're getting early voting for the first time in person for 2 days. We have 17, 19 if you opt in for the 2 Sundays that you can now. I mean, it is insanity what's out there. That it's okay for Delaware and New York and even states like New Jersey where CEOs have been critical of our legislation that has more restrictive things than we do, yet they're calling on Major League Baseball to move the All-Star game from here. And that's wrong. And it's not true. And people need to understand that. What did they say specifically? What rings the red flag? Okay, well, this bill adds voting hours for 134 of 159 counties by bringing parity to when polling locations have to be open. So it's providing more opportunities in rural Georgia to be able to vote under this current legislation. And if you look back at the history of these individuals and these other groups that are continually doing this, you remember Randolph County when they were going to consolidate precincts. You remember who they blamed for that? They blamed me. You know who was doing it? The local Democratic leadership, because it was going to save money, make the process more efficient. And that's the way it's supposed to work. The counties decide that. So tell them to send me the specifics of something that is restrictive. That is not. Adding 2 more days of weekend voting is not restrictive. Well, first of all, there's got to be cause for that, a reason, a breaking of the law or election rules that the county did. It would have to go through a process that's set out within the law that the bipartisan state election board would handle. The new member of the state election board replacing the Secretary of State would be a nonpartisan member. So you're taking a partisan person out of a position and putting a nonpartisan position in on something that, quite honestly, the legislature and many other people in our state have grown very frustrated with county elections offices that have long lines, you know, that are not running efficient elections, that have continuous problems. And this is not something that's going to, you know, happen every day. It's going to be a hard process to go through. It is only temporary. We do the same things in Georgia with school systems that are in that same boat. In fact, Governor Deot did that, replacing an entire school board because of dysfunction. So I think that is well thought out in the bill. I certainly support that. I know the Secretary of State has a little bit of different opinion about his position on that, but regardless, I think the process, whether it was the Secretary of State or this new nonpartisan member, is still a good process to hold the counties accountable and make sure that they are running secure, accessible, fair elections. Well, as far as metros, I mean, we're making mandatory an additional Saturday. They have the option for 2 Sundays. So, in my opinion, nothing's been taken away from them. We're actually just adding that availability to the rest of the part of the state. And I would tell them on drop boxes to really understand what is happening here. Drop boxes were never in the law. The General Assembly that does legislation in Georgia that I sign or veto has never weighed in on drop boxes. That was done by emergency rule by the state election board because of the public health state of emergency. So if we hadn't had an election board, there would be no drop boxes in the next election. And the General Assembly felt very strongly that they need to weigh in and say, all right, if we're going to have drop boxes going forward, this is how we need to have them. This is going to be the process. This is how you secure them. But also mentioned in the legislation that you can simply take your ballot now. I mean, every Georgian has a drop box at the end of their driveway. It's called the mailbox, or at least most of them do, where you can mail your ballot. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can take it to a drop box in a secure location now. Or you can simply take it and hand it to an elections official. I mean, we have 3 weeks of early voting. We have over, month and a half, I guess, of absentee ballots by mail that you can vote by mail. So there is ample time for people to vote in Georgia. And for all these folks that are saying it's restrictive and regressive and a step backwards and Jim Crow 2.0, I mean, African American, Latino, and other minorities, their turnout in elections has increased in Georgia, which is what's so insane about all of this, that what they are saying is just absolutely not true. In the 2018 governor's race, we had the highest African American turnout in the country and set records again this year in many ways. So this bill, as I said, makes it easy to vote, and hard to cheat, and no one, no matter what political side of the aisle you're on, should be boycotted on that behalf.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you.